In the summer of '69, we had Woodstock. And when we came back to school, we had a new guy. And that new guy was Ozzie.
He came in, he talked to all of us, and he said, not only am I going to, help you learn about television, but I am going to teach you, and I'm going to sit right next to you, and I'm going to show you how to do this, and I'm going to help you through it, and we're going to do shows together. And we did.
He was a mentor, even though he was close in age to us. He gave us the opportunity, which actually did me absolutely no good in my career. But
listen to your questions, answer them, take the time to give you an answer, and always made you feel special.
It's so great to have him really hands-on with all our projects to just show us the way and lead us. And we were smart enough to follow him.
He rolled cable out the window. Remember this?
Yeah, oh well.
Rolled cable out the window in a wintry day out of Maryland Hall down to the football field, and we did the first remote.
we did live football. We had 3 cameras from the Hughes Television Network that barely worked, and we were live.
I was in the truck with Ozzie as the AD, and again, this is a show on PBS, so that means there's no commercial breaks, there's no breaking away, so we always had to keep filling time, or we'd go back to the studio. Up in the studio was Pat Clark and John Tierney, and they were rolling the playbacks off a 2-inch quad tape, which you've probably never heard of, and that's great because it was a big bear of a reel tape, and then they'd roll it back down to us.
Watching him direct, and I'd never seen anybody direct a television broadcast, I was blown away by how creative and technically savvy he was.
Subsequently, they disbanded the football team. I don't think they're related, but they could have been. Once they saw what they looked like on tape.
And wasn't that one of the good things about Oz, is because we're always trying
That's my point. That's my point. Ozzie, when we would come to Ozzie with a thought, he would just say, yes, I think you should do that. And he never said no.
He pushed us in ways that we never thought we were ever capable of writing or directing. He really, really wanted us to be a success. And thank you, Ozzie.
He was just a very cool guy who liberated us. He had a wonderful, cool radio voice that we respected. And it was just a great, great time. One of the best times of our lives.
He's a great guy. He's very smart. He knows his stuff. I mean, he's more than a Muppet.
So Ozzie, from the class of 1972, we thank you for your help, for your vision, for your kindness, for making this all happen. Thank you, Ozzie.
He's made you feel special. Ozzie is one of the real good guys in the world.
Yeah, sounds like a good idea. Do that, and we did that. And anything we wanted to do, he was very encouraging. He was very creative.
He was the courage to try, the courage to choose to be good, and just go out there and take a stab at it. And I'm right here with you.
He deserves a lot of respect at the end of the day, even though I have none for him. He's a great guy, and I think that you guys need to really listen to him.
Hello everyone. To continue our year-long celebration of the 50th anniversary of WRED-TV, we are back with another TV Club Spotlight. I'm Caitlin Prieto, and today I'm joined by Ozzie Alfonso to talk a little bit about his career, his perspective as a Hispanic creator, and his time here at WRED-TV. Ozzie has had a very impressive career working as a post-production supervisor, director, writer, and producer, among other jobs. This has earned him a number of award nominations and wins, including Peabody and Emmy Awards. Ozzie has contributed to many children's educational programs, most notably shows like Sesame Street and 3-2-1 Contact. But I'm sure most of you watching are most familiar with Ozzie as a professor and a moderator here at St. John's. Ozzie, thank you so much for joining me today. We're so glad to have you.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Of course, great to have you. So I guess to start off, we'll probably just start talking about the early years of TV Club. I know you had a very big part in, I guess, sort of founding the club. So I I guess what was your role? Like, how'd you get involved in that?
Well, I came here right out of graduate school, you know, and the guy in charge of the department at that time was Jack Franchetti, who I had known from college, you know, and he's the one that said, well, if you want to go to a good school, go to Brooklyn College. You know, I went to Fordham. And so from Brooklyn College, I came here. Jack was here. That's the time I got the job. And I was here for about 2 years or so, I think. And how did the TV club get started? It just gradually, because at the beginning, all this equipment and the studio, and there was another studio at the other end, Studio B, I think, was used only for instructional classes. There was, from this studio, it was mathematics, and from the other studio was Shakespeare. And I think there was one economics, and they just broadcast down the hall to the classrooms. That's it, you know. And the only students involved here were just like the ones behind the camera. That was all that there was. The technical director inside was a worker. I was the director. I mean, the actual director inside. So the kids gradually began to feel, hey, you know, like I really want to do something because this is not being used at all, except for when we have the classes. And they claim that I was the first one, this is according to Andy Bamberger, to say to them that they could touch the equipment, you know. And so that was, then it became fun for me, you know, because I had something to do aside from just seeing Professor Johnson with his Shakespeare and the guy over here with the mathematics. But now the kids wanted to do something, and they did. I said, well, do whatever you want to do. You know, do sketches, and they did. They began to do sketches, comedy routines, and they even did a wonderful silent movie spin-off that they shot out in Riverhead, and I've seen that. It's some place to be found, and they were fantastic in it, you know. So that's how it began to go, you know. And I think eventually, you know, after about a year or so, the TV club, you know, was created, and it wasn't just a bunch of kids playing with cameras. It was now a recognized formal group after school.
When you first started with the club, what did you really see it as? Like, what was, I guess, your vision for the club? Like when it first like started.
What was my vision for
I guess,
the club?
like, where did you see it going for
Well,
you?
it was really that just sitting on a desk inside here wasn't a job. You know, it was like I felt really do nothing. You know, so I began the club, or I got the kids involved with the TV, just to make myself happy too, you know. It's just like now I've got something to do, you know. And I had always been interested in TV, and so here's my chance to start working with cameras and things and a switcher, you know. So that's how it started. I started it because I needed something to do, and not just sit behind a desk.
What sort of changes do you think, like, you've noticed over time with the club? How do you think, like, TV club just in general sort of handles change, like, throughout the years?
Yeah, the TV club has changed greatly. I mean, what it is today, we almost couldn't imagine way back then. Because way back then, it was strictly a hobby for the kids that were interested. That was all, you know. And what it is today, with all the equipment and all the people interested in doing not just talking on camera, but working the cameras, you know, and inside with the switcher and the audio and the graphics and the teleprompter, and it's a big deal now, which it wasn't then. We didn't have a prompter then, and we had a switcher, I think, and so it's just changed tremendously. And what it is today is something that I don't think anyone dreamed way back in 71, 72, around there.
I know you worked with a lot of students over the years. What do you think sort of stays the same? What sort of changes do you see, like, with each passing group, like, that comes into the school?
While I was here, and even just up until 2 years ago when I was a teacher here, it was just a group of friends, you know, who liked each other and liked to work with each other, and they came up with ideas from each other. And it still is, you know, and it's gotten more professional in the way they do things because you now have more equipment, but it's still, you know, a group of friends. I mean, you guys know each other, and you have a little office down the hall there, and so it's a club, you know, still. My God, look at that. She's now with Sesame Street. I got her that job. That's Kelly. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, that's actually kind of something I wanted to ask too. So a lot of the students that I've spoken to, just even alumni, the big thing they talk about is having sort of a mentor that helps them like throughout their career to get their start. So I just wanted to hear from your perspective, like what do you think it's like to be that mentor to people, to be the one that like, you know, people cite as like the reason that they get their start, like so the person that helped them out, like, you know, and they're like from the very beginning. What was that like for you?
Well, I mean, I never thought of myself as a mentor. You know, again, it goes back to me just wanting to have fun. And when, like, if you pardon the expression, kids in this, they were just people who were here to have a good time, to do something that they enjoyed doing. And I was here for the same reason. And I guess when I came back to teach in 2005, I think, I just came back because it was very much like what I remember, and it was a job that kept me busy, and it was fun to do the shows and everything, and so that's what got me here involved. And as a mentor, well, I guess I'm a mentor, but I'm not conscious of that. You know, I just say, oh my God, yeah, so I've done this and that, so I must be a mentor, but I'm not conscious of that really.
You know, you've been here as a moderator twice now. So do you think, what sort of differences did you notice, like, you know, from your first time around to like the second time, if there are even any differences? I feel like it was just sort of like picking back up.
You mean between 1972 and 2005?
I mean, just like for you personally, when you started, and then when you came back again, like, was it any different for you?
Yeah. In 72, well, when I was in graduate school, there was a friend who already was working as an intern with this group that was developing a children's show. And she kept saying, hey, Ozzie, you really should see this show. This is really great. I said, no, Lynn, I don't care about kiddie TV, for God's sakes. You know, I want to do films, you know. So I came here because it wasn't kiddie TV. It was, I'm working with a real group of talented people here. But about 2 years later, or a year and a half later, I got a call from Lynn again. And she said, Ozzie, you're still interested in, and by that time I had seen the first few episodes of Sesame Street. And I realized, oh yeah, that's a big deal. So I said yes, and I went in for an interview, and I got the job. And I got the job of post-production supervisor. I hadn't a clue what that meant, you know. As a matter of fact, I remember early on, I was standing just off the studio, and John was doing what he was directing, I think, with the Muppets. And John said, "Okay, then we'll do a pickup on that. Let's do a pickup." And Lynn was next to me, and I said, "What's a pickup?" And she said, "Ozzie, shut up. That's your job." You know, so, and that's how I learned. Really, it's just from other people, and it's always been from other people. It's who your friends are. That is the most important thing. You know, like here it was Franchetti, and for Sesame it was Lynn Klugman. So it just grows like that.
Can you speak like on the connections that you made, maybe?
Mm-hmm. Well, at Sesame Street.
Anything.
Yeah, no, it's just like it was a family. Like I told you before, it's just a bunch of people doing things that were fun to do, and my entire career has been like that. You know, it's just. But like I was once a delivery boy, hated it. So, and I once worked at a soda jerker place by a swimming pool, hated it, you know. But then these things began to come along, and this was not even work. It was just having fun. You know, it's like you almost didn't care how many hours a day you worked. You just enjoyed it. And I think that's the main thing with everybody else there, you know. And I think that's what's probably is true of you guys. You know, when you get out, you're looking to have a good time in whatever you like to do. Yeah.
And I'm sure when you're working on shows like this, obviously Sesame Street is like such an iconic show, and even 3-2-1 Contact, like, you know, my father specifically I mentioned is a very big fan of the show. I know when you're working on things like that in the moment, maybe they don't
This
see.
is 3-2-1 Contact in Greece, and Jean de Zagonzak is now a big-time director with SVU and Law and Order and all that kind of stuff. And so we are standing by the caldera in the middle of what's the island? Well, we're standing on a volcanic island. So with 3-2-1, I began to travel the world. I mean, and then you began to produce things all over the world. I would never have gone to Greece for one thing, and one of the producers went down to the South Pole, literally to the South Pole itself. You know, this is the South Pole, and you know, we did a lot of great things. You know, in New Guinea and France, England, all over the place. So what was your question again?
Oh, I was going to say, I know we sort of talked about this earlier when you mentioned how you didn't know like the songs from like the Muppets wouldn't be so as big as they were. I know like when you're working on a project, you might not know, I guess, like the impact that they'll have later. But I mean, like, what do you think now, you know, that the time has passed? Like, what would you say is like the impact of like the work that you've done like on these shows?
On 3-2-1?
Either.
Yeah. Well, it is, again, when you're doing it, you're not conscious of it. And you hear from the audience, but it's not all that much. But then when the show stopped production in 1988, then there was an article in some magazine about we were the one of 10 influential shows of the 80s, you know, that kind of thing. I said, oh, really? Oh my God, you know. And then as the audience was a 10 to 12-year-old, that was the audience that it was aimed at. And I was in Malaysia once, and I was in the hotel, and I got a call from this Malaysian man who found out that we were there, and he got the phone number. And he said, Mr. Alfonso, I just want to tell you, what a wonderful science show. I watch that every day. And I said to the man, I said, well, you realize it's for 10 to 12-year-olds. He said, it doesn't matter. You know, it reaches me, you know. And that, I think, is what was great about the show, is that it was science, but you know, it was for everybody to enjoy. And then after that, it became almost like Sesame Street, one of the landmarks of science TV or STEM TV. Yeah. So.
I guess you'd probably have a pretty unique perspective on this as well, just like working with these shows. But I would kind of want to know what you think, like you think is the place of media, just like as a tool for education. Like, why do you think that that's so important to have that, like these sorts of shows, just like for kids in general? You know, not just like they're learning from a book, like they get to like watch these things on TV. Why do you think things like that are so important?
Well, it's important because it is education. I mean, you're doing a show not just to make people laugh or to make people cry. You're doing a show to make people learn and to get them curious about whatever. Whether it be Sesame Street for a younger audience or 3-2-1 Contact for an older audience, it's all the same. You're doing informational TV, but you're doing it in a way that is entertaining and acceptable to the audience. You're not saying this is a science show and today we will play. No, it's not that kind of thing. It's like today we're going to go underwater. Wow, you know. So we do. I mean, we go and we do marine archaeology, and that's how we do that thing. So it's a learning tool for everybody. You know.
What sort of work just goes into putting on shows like that? I know it must be a lot more than just like, you know, writing a script. It seems like there's a lot of research done beforehand. Like, what does that process look like?
It's all a natural progress, you know, once you start going with it. You know, it's, you know, like I know with 3-2-1, the same thing happened with Sesame Street. Long before anything was taped or produced, there was a body of experts, you know, scientists and professors and all that, who got together and along with us to just impart information, and then we would somehow, you know, transfer that information into something that was visual and interesting.
I mean, like, you have a lot of experience here at St. John's, like like we sort of discussed, like as a mentor and a teacher, and like you worked on shows like this. Do you think that those sort of like tie into each other? Do you think like you just feel drawn, I guess, like being a teacher in that sense? Like, do you think that's like what keeps you like working at shows like that and like coming
Do I
back?
feel
St.
drawn?
Just sort of like teaching.
Well, I mean, even teaching is interesting, what I taught here, because I taught introduction to film, and I got to go over all the techniques of making a film, of telling a story visually and audibly, and then, you know, and I taught the TV one, which was introduction to the studio, and it was hands-on learning. Very little talking for me, but everything had to do with the class putting on a show and learning by doing that. And not just here and there, but in the control room and the writing and all that. So that was a lot of fun. And some of my students really put together wonderful little films, you know. Like one did a Teenage Jesus, you know. Which I said, well, that's a hell of a great idea, you know, and the actors in it were wonderful, you know, and they were all in the class.
What do you think that you've taken away from this experience? I guess getting to act as a teacher, getting to work on these shows that are meant to educate people. Like, what do you think that you've taken away personally from that experience?
That's a hard thing for me to answer, and that's just for me to answer. I'm sure other people could answer it a lot easier. Because it's only now that I'm beginning to realize that, oh my goodness, I actually did something. You know, I just, all through that time was just, like I said before, having fun, you know, with friends and doing things, you know. But then I began to realize that, oh, so this is special. I didn't know that. Like, I won a few Emmys, and I remember when at the Emmys, when you get the Emmy and you walk around backstage, and you go into this platform with the Emmy things in the background, and you're there just to have people take pictures of you. And I would always just bypass that. You know, I would always really be embarrassed. That's another thing. I've been shy all my life. And that has helped a lot, because I like to stay behind the camera. You know, sort of.
What do you hope like that people have taken away from things that you've taught them?
Well, I guess that the lessons are that they got out of it whatever we intended to put into it, you know, and that they appreciate it. I was once at an audiologist, and this young woman was like 30-something, and she had her thing in my ear, you know, and I was wondering, she's an audiologist and she's a young woman, you know. I said, how did you get interested in all this? And she said, oh, I actually started with 3-to-1 contact. And she didn't know anything about me. And I said, oh, really? I worked in 3-to-1 contact, and the thing in my ear went out, you know. I just, really? You know? So, and as of late, I've heard a lot of comments like that from people who have become scientists of one form or another through social media. You know, I've heard from them. So
You've done all these amazing things. Like, you've traveled so much, you gotten to work on all these amazing projects, and you've come back to St. John's. You know, you're even sitting here again today. What is it that you think is so special about, like, you know, St. John's, just like TV Club in general, that keeps you coming back?
What is it so special about St. John's that it keeps me coming back?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, if there's a job, I'll come back. You know. No, it's I think it's the symbiosis between the faculty, so-called faculty, and the students. You know, it's a lot closer in relationship. You know, like it's not me just being the guy in front of the class, or at least I look at it that way. But it's the guy in front of the class trying to get everyone involved in something. And when it comes to an after-school club like this, that comes to life. You know, it's just people doing things because they like doing them, and learning at the same time.
Like, what do you hope has been your legacy, like in TV Club? Is that for you?
Oh my God, the legacy?
Yes, your legacy.
I really don't think about it.
You don't think about it?
No, it makes me cry if you keep forcing it out of me. No, it just, I am who I am. You know, that's it. I mean, I never thought of myself as anything I mean, I'm happy that it has caught on, but it's not like I made a tremendous effort to be whatever it was that I have been.
It's been 50 years. Like you mentioned before, like you don't really know what's going to happen over time. What is it like for you knowing you've had such a major part, just like in the origins of the club, even like throughout the club's history? Like, what is it like for you to really sit and reflect on that?
I don't know. I'm proud of the people that have come out of here, you know, and most of them have come out very well, you know, and I'm very happy for them.
So glad that you got to join us today. You know, we'll definitely keep up the festivities. Hope to see you around more as well. But that's all the time that we have today. So I just want to say once again, thank you so much for joining me today, and thank you all for tuning in to this installment of our Spotlight series. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram at WRED-TV for more content. And to celebrate our 50th anniversary, we will be raffling 3 free special edition t-shirts at the end of the semester to anyone who likes and comments on all of our productions that come out in 2021. For more WRED-TV merch, check out our Redbubble linked below. Once again, I'm Caitlin Prieto. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being a great teacher, and thank you for being a great friend to all of us.
One of the things I recalled is that we did a television show about a group called Joe's Lights. They provided the lighting for Fillmore East. They did the backdrop, you know, those crazy lights with the amoeba jumping and all that other stuff. And they were using headlamps from old planes to make it happen and so on and so forth. But we did it in black and white. So it was, here's my point. My point is with Ozzie, out of the box was never, ever a problem. I'm proud to have called him my friend and sort of a mentor. We became good friends, and you guys are lucky to have been associated with him.
I'm so thankful that we had you every day at TV Club, and I'm even more thankful that you were my very first professor here at St. John's for TV film. So you showed me what the program was like, you showed me what TV was like, you built my passion for TV, and I want to thank you for that.
And we're also so thankful for your great time management on Fridays, because without you, we would have not gotten out by 5 o'clock. So thank you for always being our constant timekeeper, and for also just encouraging us and always being a great sense of support. We knew that when you'd come into the studio and adjust those cameras for us, we were going to get a really quality production. So
yes.
We're thankful for your laughs, your jokes. Thankful for calling me Missy with an I, not a Y, even though it is a Y, but we went over that already.
Thanks so much for being my professor, my TV club moderator, the guy who always reminded us it was nearing 5 o'clock and we better wrap it up on a Friday. Thanks for everything you've done for St. John and for TV Club over so many years, and of course, lastly, thanks for always being down to talk about Sesame Street with me.
I'm only here because of you and all of your help at WRED-TV. You've done so much for St. John's, and we are forever grateful.
Professor Alfonso, thank you for everything. Thank you for dedicating all of your time on Friday afternoons so we can spend our time together on the 4th floor of Marillac making TV shows for WRED-TV. Thank you for also being my professor and helping me graduate St. John's and getting in the position that I'm in today.
Who are you? What are you doing to my chair? We just want to say thank you for everything that you've done. You've taught us so much, from the control room to being out on the field to actually pushing us to do bigger and better things for TV Club and in our lives. And I just wanted to thank you, and so did Justin.
For sure. So once more, thank you, Ozzie.
Yay! I think that was the one.
And again, Abe here, Justin. Just want to say one more time, thank you, Ozzie. Play that music!